Okay, just a tutorial on how to add RGB and composite with C-Sync switchable plus a 5060 Hz switch using Connectia XO5295 good G+ Vision Series cables. So obviously remove the 5 screws there with the circles around them. You'll be presented with something like this. There will be an RF shield. Remove that, throw it out. You don't need it. Someone sold one on eBay recently for $39. I don't know how, but it is rubbish. We'll jump straight into the signal wire for the 5060 Hz mod. It's the 4th leg in from the right on the bottom row, the long leg in, the 4th long leg in on the 315 5246 IC. So you can just flush cut that at the bottom, then lift it up a little bit. You don't need to lift it as high as the one pictured, but either way, as long as you can tack a wire onto there and it's not making contact with the adjacent pins. Okay guys, so next stage is mounting. We've got that pin prepared for the 5060 Hz. That's the signal wire. You can see here I've just marked it out with Nico. That comes off with some isopropyl alcohol. It'll come straight off. So I've just come down 10 mil from the very top of the shell, and we've just moved in past the curved section onto the flat. This is just a guide. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. So it's 10 millimeters in for the first hole, then we've just got 15 mil spacing, jack to jack. So you can move the entire row of jacks across a little bit to the left, across a little bit to the right. We just need 15 mil spacing, and we need to steer clear of this post here. Make sure you don't drill near that with the red circle, because that will obstruct the installation, and there on the left is just obviously the curved bit. Okay, so you should have something that looks like this. We've got red, green, blue and sync, which are the gold jacks. Then we've got audio left and right, which are the silver jacks. You can see I've got the tabs folded down. You need them, they're your earths. Here we have, in the multiple circles, I've just pre-applied some solder blobs. Make sure you heat them right up and that it actually bonds with the board. It will just sit on the surface and scratch off if you don't heat it right up and wait for it to bond. And then I've just used bare wire here, and we've just run that across as an earth plane across the audio and video jacks, and one on that switch there for 5060 Hz. One thing that wasn't mentioned was removal of the the RF out. It's not going to be needed. Most of them are faulty now anyway, and it just provides a much cleaner installation. If you take that out, you can see that the switches have been mounted there, so they're just 10 mil down as well, and just put them anywhere there as long as the backs of them there aren't going to obstruct each other. You can turn them horizontal. Sorry, they're horizontal in the picture. You can turn them vertical and get them a little closer together if you like. That's up to you. Otherwise, if you don't want to remove the RF out, you'll have to find another location to install the switches. Okay, so now we're on to finishing off this 5060 Hz selector switch. So we've left that pin floating there so that we could flick the switch, and that would either send that signal low or high, so to ground or to 5 volts. You can see there the path that the cable's taken, or the wire. I've fed it through the IC legs there just to keep clear of the cartridge slot. It's not an absolute necessity, but it's neat. You can see it's just tacked on the end. Then you've got your earth there on the switch going down to the earth where we've left the blob earlier of solder, and then we've got the 5 volt on the other side, and we've run that across to the positive of that capacitor there to pick up 5 volts, and that's the switch done. Okay, up next is the C-Sync / composite video switch. which will flick us between C-Sync, which is the optimal sync signal for RGB, or Composite, where we just want to use the yellow, white and red jack for composite video. So here's the switch up close. You can see our first wire here is running from the composite out on the encoder up to the left side of the switch. On the off chance you've got a sonic system with sonic inbuilt, it's a different encoder, pretty much identical pinouts, Google it. Here we have the negative of the cap facing the yellow jack. So the negative is wired to there, and you can see there's a 75 ohm resistor in front of it on the center signal pin of the switch. Then finally our C-Sync tacked in just there up to the other side of the switch. So once more, the composite video is pin 20. That is the 5th pin in from the left on the top row of the encoder, and the other wire was the C-Sync out, pin 11. That's the 2nd pin in on the bottom row from the right hand side. Okay, we're nearly there, guys. Up next, all we need to do is the RGB and the audio. So save an offcut of one of these capacitors and link it across the 2 audio jacks as pictured, and then solder your capacitors directly into the red, green and blue jacks. Solder the negative sides in. The negative side faces the set. Here's the pin out for you, and you're just going to run a wire across to the respective pin. Obviously red to R, G to G, blue to B. You can see I've done a bit of cable management there because I don't want them obstructing my socketed ICs there. This is a test bench system that I've pulled out of another shell just for this video. So you might notice I've got heat shrink on my resistors and the legs of the caps. That's not a necessity, but I've put it on there nonetheless. And the last wire we need to do is the audio wire. You can see that there. So the audio is the 9th pin, which is the 4th in from the end on the bottom row, and I've just run that across to the offcut that is linking the left and right audio, because the system only outputs mono, and we're just going to double that up so it comes out at 2 speakers, and that's the final wire. So we can give it a test run now. Okay, so I'll show you some pictures of it on a PVM. It's pretty much flawless. I've used these modded systems on consumer RGB sets as well, and it's flawless. They're not quite as noisy as the bad Mega Drives. You can't see any issues on a CRT, but when you blow them up on an LCD, they're a jail buzz. You know, it's an 80s console. You could probably improve it with an RGB bypass, but I don't think there's any point. Now, funny story, I had issues with this PS3 microphone. It's like a PS3 iCam earlier, so I thought I'd try a different driver, which was unsuccessful. I've installed something called ASIO 4 All version 2, which is like a universal audio driver for audio devices that don't have a driver. And when I went to record the master system through the OSSC, all of a sudden I'm getting audio capture as well. So that's awesome, because it's like a $10 capture device off eBay, and it's working beautifully tonight, and it was an accident. So here's some OSSC footage. Enjoy.
me spitting these words and bars fast as I type them, and how's the time, and just this shit's flowing and rhyming. A witness comes knocking at my door, trying to spread word of the Lord, trying to read Bible verses to me, but those verses are worse than the devil could be. Cause when a life ends in tragedy, no light at the end of the tunnel you see. Cause in life he committed a sin once or twice, smoked some ice, grabbed a knife and diced someone up, snatched a bag of a hag or shot up a cop. It's like being electrocuted in a chair for a crime that you didn't commit. Like being hung from a pole with a rope to the neck till your neck rips. Like being electrocuted in a chair for a crime that you didn't commit. Like being hung from a pole with a rope to the neck till your neck rips. Like being electrocuted in a chair for a crime that you didn't commit. Like being hung from a pole with a rope to the neck till your neck rips. Like being electrocuted in a chair for a crime that you didn't commit. Like being hung from a pole with a rope to the neck till your neck rips.